Thank you for joining our webinar today. We've got an exciting session for you focused on how you can use the Microsoft Project Portfolio Management solution to manage and report across your most critical product-based initiatives specific to new product development organizations. My name is Annie Levant, and I'm with the Microsoft Gold partner called Projility. We've been implementing Microsoft project and portfolio management solutions and developing enterprise-level applications for over 18 years for large enterprises, including everything from engineering, construction, IT, and new product development. PMOs and CIOs typically come to us when they can't easily explain what's going on across all their projects. They don't know what resources are working on what work, and they have a hard time getting consistent reports and metrics to make product-based decisions. We're known for having a 98% on-time, on-budget track record for successfully implementing these solutions for clients. We offer services and solutions in 3 core areas. Deployment consulting services, Projility's core business. We provide professional services for successfully planning and implementing Microsoft Project Portfolio Management, including Microsoft Project Online, integrating PPM with a line of business applications, and delivering strategic portfolio management solutions to support top-level management planning. We also have a growing Microsoft Power Platform practice, where we are actively working with clients to build applications, workflows, and reports to automate their most important business processes. Projility also offers a set of pre-built software solutions and accelerators based upon 18 years of experience, including a set of Hammerhead products that provide improved access to your cloud PPM data, accelerate access to visual reports and dashboards using Power BI, connect data between your PPM system with Microsoft Teams, and extend connectivity into Active Directory to improve visibility, insight, and control over your work, people, and projects. Finally, Projility provides post-implementation support services, including expert care, designed to assist your PMO with gaining on-demand expertise on the solution supported. We have a full online automated e-learning offering that can improve consistency and adoption for your users of your project management tools. We have upcoming webinars covering sessions on best practices for project and PPM processes and tools. Join us on January 25th for our upcoming session, where clients Westinghouse and Ecobat will discuss their successful PPM deployments in manufacturing. That will be followed by a newly updated session in February based upon some recent Microsoft announcements. Microsoft's Project Develop solution will be merging with Microsoft Planner, which is an exciting change. All virtual webinars will start at 1 p.m. Eastern. You can register for these events using the Eventbrite link provided or by searching Eventbrite Projility in your browser. Hope you can join us for these upcoming sessions. All videos from this and previous series are available on our best practice playlist on YouTube listed on this page. Topics range from managing your digital transformation program using PPM technologies to integrating PPM with agile and line of business applications. Feel free to subscribe and access the library at any time and share with your colleagues. If you have questions as you watch the presentation, please log them in the questions and answer manager at the top of your team screen, and we'll review those towards the end of our session. With that, I'll hand the presentation off to Rob Hirschman, partner here at Projility. Rob, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Annie. We appreciate everybody joining today. Today is a very interesting session. We get a lot of feedback from a lot of organizations that spend their livelihood really developing new products. And they come to us and say, hey, how can we fit product lifecycle management or delivery of products into a project performance or project portfolio management lifecycle? So what we've done is we've worked with several clients over the last 6 or 7 years that have this specific challenge. We've brought this together into a specific presentation. We're going to talk about some of the challenges we see in product-centric organizations as it relates to managing projects related to product development. We'll talk about how you can use technology in Microsoft's suite, Microsoft PPM, to support new product development life cycles and processes. We'll give you a demonstration showing you some examples we have with data, real client data, showing you examples of how NPD projects could be managed in PPM. We'll also talk about something that's top of mind for a lot of folks. What's coming with AI, and how does this impact your ability to plan and deliver projects and manage resources on those projects and products successfully? Talk through some deployment best practices that we've learned over the last several years, and finally give you some resources to get some help if you're interested. Let's jump right into our content. So, when you think about it, bringing a new product to market is very rewarding, but it's also occasionally challenging. There's a lot involved, a lot of moving parts to go from a concept all the way through a successful product launch. And if we look at an overall product development process, you have a lot of internal teams that are really involved in bringing a concept to market. We have design teams, we have engineering teams, we have marketing teams, and they all play a role in this entire life cycle. And often some of the key challenges are coordinating some of the timelines, the phases, the milestones, the deliverables is a key part of project success here, especially when it comes to keeping these different teams aligned and on the same page. So a lot of it gets down to coordinating activity. It also takes a lot of skill to manage many of these moving parts to the point as to where a lot of, if you go out to like LinkedIn and look at some of the most promising jobs of the next 5 years, it's more product centric and product management as well as project management. There's always ways to improve this process. And one of the ways you can do that is to use more efficient software tools around project management. And what we're going to do next is walk you through some of the benefits you'll experience when you're using the right project management software to assist with your project and portfolio management challenges. So one of the first challenges we see on the far left is really resource management, and managing your resources effectively in terms of getting a product launch can be very, very critical to success. And sometimes it's really easy to think, I'll just throw more resources at the problem and I'll solve it. But the reality is, and actually there have been several studies out there in the last couple of years, that project speed and efficiency and output quality actually decreases when people fill the plates of more people with different work around their products. So what we start to see is actually it leads to less efficiency because we have too many resources working on things instead of tiger teams that are very focused on getting specific deliverables out. So really, we want to keep a close eye on resources throughout the project and product lifecycle. And doing that, a project management tool can help you do that. We're going to show you that in our demonstration. Also, moving beyond that, we look at setting realistic product development schedules. Scheduling becomes ultra important. We have a lot of our largest clients that do product management. They have multiple interrelated project schedules with activities and milestones and dates that are interrelated upon one another. So, when you look at that, you're really eager to roll a new product out or enhance an existing product, but you don't want to jump the gun because you're too excited. And a lot of times people jump right in and don't build really detailed schedules. And that's one of the biggest risks or pitfalls we see when it comes to effective product development. So using a project management tool like Microsoft PPM can make it easier to implement things. You can put critical path methodology in place. You can identify the longest your critical chain, dependent tasks. You also know when you hit a snag in one project, what does it do to all the interrelated projects and all the resource work that's there to make sure that your product is delivered on time and on budget. So what we see is really improved resource management processes, working along a critical path of your projects that rolls up to different products. And that way you get a realistic view into what's going on in your development schedule. Importantly, it always becomes about visualizations, charts, graphs, and reports. That can range from things like just task status to team assignments, information on the project quality that's being delivered to on time and on budget. And not everybody in the process is going to want to see the information the same way. What a project management tool like a PPM tool can do is give you the option to display that data in graphics and charts for different stakeholders. For instance, maybe you want to use a Gantt chart when you're talking to the project teams, but maybe you want a dashboard when you're talking to the product manager or a CMO or a director in the organization. You can provide different data to different subsets of users through charting and graphing. And using real-time reporting to get better insights into where you are in that life cycle is absolutely critical. When you're developing a new product, things are always changing and always evolving. Your project performance tracking and reporting changes along with that. And you need to really get your arms around the most recent data to make informed decisions on how you're going to move forward and make key decisions. What we typically find is this data is inaccurate in most organizations. They're using tools like PowerPoint and Excel, maybe project on their desktop or some web-based tools. And a lot of studies that have come out, including one from Gartner a couple of years ago, say that organizations believe that poor data quality leads to just billions of dollars in losses every year. You're losing money because the quality of your data on making decisions on your projects and your products is outdated, or it's just not there at all. It's disconnected. So tools like Microsoft PPM, teamed up with tools like Power BI, can give you all the data you need to make business decisions on a real-time basis. And finally, at the end of the day, it all gets down to what's on the far right, communications and collaborations with your vision, making sure everybody is aligned to the vision you have for your product and all the work that flows down from that. You don't want to do inefficient work or do the wrong work. And you've heard, new products often have a high failure rate. And a lot of that comes to the issues that are played during the product development life cycle, and all the projects that are a part of that. One of the biggest problems can often just be miscommunication and misaligned vision between the different teams that are working on the different components. Finally, a project management tool helps with new product development processes, really improving those processes. It provides a central place for all product-related conversations, status updates, data is all in one place. Team members aren't left to dig through different emails and notes and instant messages to find out exactly where they are. Project managers and product managers always know where they are. And finally, we get a level of transparency that keeps the whole product development team in the loop and aligned with the vision of where you're going with the product. That's really important because as we hear from a lot of experts in the market, vision is top of mind, but you have to be able to sift through all the things like feature requests, prioritization of projects, ideal outcomes, take all the rest of the stuff and move it out of the way and just deliver on the mission you have. So PPM tools can help in many of the key areas that map directly to the quality and delivery of your products. So where does all this start? When we look at it, Microsoft has a series or suite of tools that organizations use every day just to manage the collaboration on their day-to-day work. So why not start to think about ways to use those to address your product management challenges? This can range from using Microsoft Project in the green circle and PPM, really to support the structuring, the capture and reporting of your data on your projects, your resources, your tasks, and your work, to using Power BI, which is on the left, for analytics, trending, and reporting across all this data, to using SharePoint down on the bottom left, and Microsoft Teams to enhance collaboration and communication, having a single platform and all the data stored in one place, in the Microsoft Office 365 platform to deliver your projects more successfully. All the way over to the Power Platform, which a lot of organizations are using to extend out capabilities, to build processes and workflows, to build apps, to capture specific data, even merge data from systems such as your financial or your CRM system. Best of all, in the Microsoft suite, you already own it, you already use it, and most people are already familiar with this stuff already. Plus, your data is all safe, secure, and available to scale and integrate with other data sources if you need it. So think of it as leveraging an existing platform, an existing set of technologies you already have that are vetted out in your organization, and extending that out to support product management life cycles. So how do we address all this in a PPM or Microsoft PPM solution? Well, PPM really covers two different core areas of the spectrum when it comes to planning and delivering projects that roll up to products. The first area on the left is all about your top-down management planning. This is about looking at the portfolio of products you have and the projects within it to make sure you're aligned with your vision, your goals, and your strategies. Make sure you're aligning all your projects and your resources effectively to deliver on that vision and mission, and being able to really drive portfolio reporting and reprioritize as you go through your overall project and product lifecycle. So think of the first part as really your planning at the top level on the left, but the bottom right is the day-to-day execution. This is where your product managers are building detailed work plans, they're assigning activities to team members, you're collaborating with issues and risks and action items and milestones, and also you have project-based reporting. It all is in one repository, all in Office 365, all fully integrated with the tools you know and love today. So think of it really as taking PPM processes and adapting them for a product lifecycle, and that's what we're going to be showing you in our demonstration next. Okay. And we talk about the different roles that are typically involved in this life cycle. On the top left, you have your directors, managers, product owners. They're very concerned about the portfolio and the products they're going to be enhancing or building new products on. How are the projects and the products doing? How's the portfolio looking? What's the demand coming in for changes to enhancements versus existing ones? I only have a finite pool of resources. I need to make key decisions on that. And that ties into really getting really good visibility and governance and controls. The role on the top right is for your functional or resource managers. These are the people that own the business people that are going to be working on your projects and some of the product development, or the engineers that are involved in actually developing the products. They're often responsible for managing workload, capacity, and demand around those people, committing them to the right tasks and the right times and the right projects to make sure it aligns with the vision and goals of your overall strategy from a product perspective. Your project and product managers on the bottom right are responsible for the day-to-day execution, the planning of the project schedule, the assignment of tasks and activities in collaboration with the resource managers, and also driving updates and status to that, whether it's the health, the risk, the cost, the return on investment, all the different components of driving to successful project outcomes. They're going to be tracking all that information in the central system. And they're going to be working with your team members on the bottom left, the folks that are actually doing the engineering and the development work on the products, whether it's new or enhancements. They can see all of their tasks in one place. They can update their progress. They don't have to wait for a status meeting or send an IM. Everything is all in one place. And then they can also collaborate on deliverables and artifacts and key components of different projects. So think of it as a role-based application that different stakeholders are going to access based on what's important to them and how you want them really playing a role in your product and project management lifecycle. Okay. With that, we're going to actually jump into our demonstration next. We're going to show you some examples of how a PPM solution like Microsoft PPM can be set up to support product lifecycle management as it relates to the delivery of these products. So we talked about some of those key pillars. We talked about resource management. We talked about scheduling and good schedule management. We talked about status reporting, collaboration, and overall dashboards. But we're going to be in Office 365 here. And what we're going to do, we're going to go into our project management tool by coming down here into project, and we're going to click on our PPM environment. And it takes us right from there into our web-based interface. This is going to be really our dashboard to the world for all of our projects. For those of you who are familiar with Project Online, it's the same tool. At the end of the day, we're just going to be using it in a little different way with a little different flavor and different templates and different wordings. So on that homepage, we can communicate what our overall life cycle is. Any key documentation or deliverables and templates are here as well. So we can kind of think about blending our process in with our tool. On the left, we have all the functionality we're going to be leveraging from a product or project management lifecycle. For purpose of today, we're going to focus really on the pipeline and management of our active portfolio. We're going to talk about the resources and managing resource utilization. We're going to talk about statusing, and we're also going to talk about reporting. But let's start out with a look at that entire pipeline. And we're going to hop into this area called the Project Center, which again, most people might be familiar with. The Project Center is going to be a role-based dashboard that's going to provide visibility, insight, and control over different groupings of projects. Now, in this case, you'll see in this view here, we have a product family as the highest level. And in this case, we've got 3 product families in our organization. We may be building mobile devices, we may have TVs and monitors, and we may have laptops and desktops, and we actually have a 4th family here for printers and scanners. Within that, we have a subgroup for the family where we maybe have tablets and e-readers, and we can have a nested hierarchy. Below that, then we have all the projects that are related to the delivery of either enhancements or new products in each of these areas. So you can see for the tablets area, we're designing a smaller module. We're doing a phase 1 redesign of our tablet. We're also modernizing the UI as well. So those are 3 projects and discrete pieces of work that may have relationships between one another. We're going to see information on those, such as what is the health of this particular project as it relates to the overall delivery of the product. We're going to see a % complete, how far along is it? We're going to see a workflow stage. We're going to talk about that. Where is the project in its overall life cycle as it relates to your product life cycle? What are the dates? When does the project start? When is it targeted to finish? What is the baseline finish? When we started the project, we baselined the project and we said this modernized UI, we were going to finish 11/28. It looks like it's not finishing till 12/21. So it's running about a month behind. We know that already. Also, common in the product world, we may have product regions. We may be developing specific products we have for a region, South region, East region, Asia Pac, North America, whatever they are. So we can map this over to that kind of metadata. Is there a finance code? How is the project being financed or funded? What is the overall project health? Sometimes we put a prioritization ranking behind this, gold, silver, bronze. We have a lot of organizations that do this kind of ranking so they can prioritize their projects. What is the overall complexity of the project? Who is the product manager? Maybe separate from the project manager in this case. What is the state of the project? And also we can have that workflow. And we can display as much or as little information as we want about these projects all in one place. On the right side, you'll see we actually have Gantt charts that are showing us progress of different projects and any projects that haven't started yet. And to the left of each of these, we'll see if there are any identified issues or risks or key deliverables or documents that are part of the delivery of these projects. So right from a management view, I can get in and I can see the 3 projects that are important to me in the tablet division. And maybe I want to drill in and get more information about a specific project. And that would be the modernizing UI project. So when I click this, again, it shows up in the red. I'm really curious what's going on. The first thing I want to know is where is this project in the overall life cycle? So what we can do in PPM is use the workflow or the life cycle to actually manage the movement of a project through a life cycle. And in this case, we've got a life cycle that goes from ideation to research to in development, which is where we are now. We can see that, to validation, to production, to launch, and then post-launch evaluation. And we're using this because we want to actually manage the stage gates at a project level to understand exactly where this project is. And we've got different steps or stages that need to be accomplished to move projects from one stage gate to the next. And this is something, again, a lot of our clients that do successful product development in the tool, they use this part of PPM to really manage and measure this through a life cycle, make sure things are doing it consistently. But on the left, you'll see we have tabs of information. We have product information. We then have product sales data we may want to start capturing if it's an enhancement or a new product. Those are our targets. We may have the schedule, which we talked about the importance of building a really good schedule. And we may also capture project status. Plus, we also have a collaboration site, which is going to do that collaboration and communication we talked about is so critical to delivery of projects. So within this, we can take a look at project status and see exactly what's going on. This would be updated by our product team members. In this case, the description of the project is here. The accomplishments. Looks like last week, we research completed and designed the options. The next period, we're going to be meeting with the engineering team to finalize the development plan and some of the milestones, some goals for the next period of completing the documents design. It looks like we're okay on some of these different elements. So maybe we want to drill down to the next level and see really what's going right and wrong on the project. How we do that is we start looking at the basic project information. This would be the metadata that's captured about the product in this case, such as the type of project, the family it's a part of, the product number, if we have one, generating from maybe from our ERP system, who the manager is, what the priority is, what's the state, the overall complexity, as well as a description and things like, does it receive an R&D tax credit? What is the target market for this product? What is the requested production date, which we're keeping separate from the actual schedule dates of the delivery of the product? And finally, things like the finance code. We're learning more about the project. We may also look and see what the forecasted sales are for this particular product. And for the UI redesign, we think in year one, we're going to be generating $67,000 of additional sales. From a net perspective down here, it looks like about $87,000. And we can forecast this out multiple years. So we can see total projected sales on this are going to be about $525,000 based on this enhancement. And then down here, we can see the net sales are about $175,000. So that's really our profitability here. Finally, we can take a look at that schedule. And we talk about how important it is to build a schedule. We're going to get into that next. When we build that work breakdown structure of that schedule, the product manager or the PM is going to be doing that and building at a level of detail dependent on the type of project and the details within it. And we can start looking down here and we can see we've got the different phases here: idea request, feasibility, development. Within each of these, we can start to see where the project is, how it's being performed, and also what resources are responsible for delivering on different activities within that project step or stage. Importantly, we can start to see when we do our kickoff, that's when we go into the yellow, we start getting our cost estimates. Where we turn red, aha, here is the facility hasn't been chosen. Well, why hasn't that happened? We're going to find out more about that in a couple of minutes. P&L is updated. Again, we're staying in the yellow here, but it looks like down here in the red, someone has added an issue related to the new part numbers and also assigned a risk associated with the samples assessed by the customer. So what the product manager can do is actually start attributing issues and risks and action items to specific activities here. So we know if something turns yellow, why it turned yellow, and also who is responsible for the delivery of those tasks or activities. And that's going to get into the scheduling component we're going to cover next. So we can very quickly get a snapshot of where things are so we can ask the right questions about the delivery of this project. Finally, we are going to have a project collaboration site. We're going to get into that a little bit, but let's get right into the schedule. So, we've got this plan. The project manager has built this out. They're building that project out in Microsoft Project on the desktop, but they're building this out to a level of detail specific to the delivery of this product. In this case, modernizing the UI. You see, we're going to go through during idea and request. We've got all these activities. We've got duration, work, and then we've got people assigned to each of them. And then we've got progress against each of those as well. So I can insert the progress field here. Now I'm just going to insert % complete. Okay. And we can see how far along we are. So we see we've completed the idea and request phase. We've gotten through feasibility. Looks like we're done there. Now we're in the development stage of this particular project. And we can see we're down here in the initial product spec. Right now we're producing sample quality samples that are going to go out to our market and talk to our different customers to figure out, is this the right product from an enhancement perspective or a new one? So we've got all the steps we'd be taking throughout our life cycle are built into our work plan. In Microsoft Project, we're creating assignments here to different roles or individuals, and that's going to allow us to do our resource planning in the back end in a couple of minutes. We're starting to see these little red guys here show us if a person or a role is over allocated. So I can see right here on shipping quality samples out, I can see Patrick is assigned to it, but it looks like Patrick is over allocated, and we're going to be able to see why he's over allocated in a couple of minutes. And finally, as we get down here, we can start to see dependencies. So as we get into commercialization, we're preparing for this. You can see we have a little grayed out task here, task 43. The pilot lab, we might need that to do commercialization. We can see that's actually from another project. So there's another project that has a direct relationship to mine. So until I actually can't get into producing labels until the pilot lab has been completed. What is that all about? I can click on that. Now it's going to take me into an interrelated project. This is really important. That project is being built by another product or project manager in this case and managed by them. And now I'm going to be able to see exactly where they are on that project because that has the risk of pushing my tasks and my activities out as well. And you can see now, if I look at this other project, this is the phase 1 redesign. Aha. So they're reliant on me and I'm reliant on them for us to build this next version of our tablet computer. And you can see here that they've got a production facility change, and that's pushing to 627. Mine is supposed to come shortly after that. So if this task 13 changes, that's going to impact my ability to actually move my project forward. At this point, I want to be communicating with that other product manager to see, is this on schedule or is there a risk of that pushing out? Because I really need to know if it's on time or not, and that's going to impact my ability to deliver. And this is one of the beauties of having a centralized project management system with scheduling embedded in it, is you can see the relationships and understand them, have a discussion, and then you can manage your level of detail where you need to, while understanding some of those impacts and dependencies instead of kind of taking a wild guess at it. And so you have this work plan, you're keeping it up to date, you're assigning people to different activities, whether it's a role or an individual, and that lets you roll information up across projects, have those inter-project relationships and dependencies, and then I can manage that both at a detailed level and a higher level as well. So scheduling is a very, very important component to any kind of product development, whether it's an enhancement or a new product. And you can see we have visibility into that schedule here right through the web browser. As a manager, I can see that, but I trust that my product manager is actually actively managing that, and I can see all the details and when things go right and wrong. For instance, I see that issue that was logged here against a specific task, requesting the new part numbers. What's the issue? What's the problem that this person is facing? They requested the new part numbers. There is a resource constraint. They've got a challenge because they don't have the right resources to actually do this work. So what the product manager can do is log an issue or a risk, or down here, the samples assessed by the customer. Well, what's going on with that? I can click on the risk that was logged. It's going to take me right into that risk. We could say the customer panel isn't available until mid-May. And if I'm planning to actually deliver those samples sometime in April, then I've got a problem. This could push my whole project out, which impacts the delivery of this product to market. And that's a big, big problem. So I've identified that as a risk or an issue. I've logged that. Now, as a manager, I'm working to mitigate that and manage that so I can deliver on time and on budget. So a centralized PPM system brings all this data together, gives you that visibility, and lets you track everything in one place, which is really, really nice. And that gets right into the resource management challenge we talk about. So if I hop over into the resource utilization tab here, you'll see I have access to something called the central resource pool that's in the PPM system. And this is going to give me access to different types of resources I may use on a project. My view, as maybe a manager of some developers, researchers, and product developers, is I see just my people. I also see the role of a product engineer. So as I'm planning future projects, I can plug in that role and look at what my demand is. And then I can manage the actual capacity and utilization of all my people to see when can I take on more work, or if additional tasks come up or something delays, what's the impact of that? As a manager, it makes it very easy for me to go in, click on a button that says capacity planning, and now I have a visualization. We talked about the importance of graphs and visuals of my team. And now I can see my team is at or under capacity, which is the orange line, which is the most amount of work they can take on without being overbooked for a good 2 months of the year. When we get into the month of September, looks like I'm at or a little above my capacity. Then I get into October, November, December, I'm fine. Then January through March looks like I'm above my capacity. This is going to be a challenge. How do I know this? Because I've got different people. We talked about Aaron and Alex and Erwin. They have a certain capacity here, which I'm setting up. Then they're assigned to different projects, and that is pulling away from their capacity. So I can see Erwin during the month of July through November is overbooked because he's working on 2 different projects or pieces of work. Maybe one's an enhancement or maintaining an existing product. Maybe one is a new build out, and that is causing him to be over allocated. So if someone comes and says, I really want Erwin to start my new project in the month of August, you can say, well, the problem is he's already working on 2 things he's already over allocated. But if I look down, I see Michael frees up, and Michael only has 1 project. The UI project doesn't start till later for him. So I can actually put him on your project for about 150 hours a month. Will that do? You can have a discussion about the resource availability to determine who's really available. And it's not only going to show me what people are booked on today, but what the forecasted work is on the projects and non-project related enhancement work they have. Really a useful tool. The other thing it allows a manager to do is to pivot and say, well, let's look at my current workload, not too bad, but let me look at all the forecasted work in purple, where I have upcoming projects where I haven't decided who's going to do the work yet, or I haven't yet committed to these enhancements or new products. That's going to show me really the difference between current workload and current and forecasted workload to say, yeah, with all the forecasted workload, I can definitely take on work, but at the end of the year, it's going to be a crash, and we're going to have to make some strategic decisions. It really gives a manager the ability to look at all the details and make good, smart staffing decisions on resources. And that's really one of the key points of a PPM system. It can really help you do people planning as well as project planning. So we talked about the importance of getting those top level views. We talked about the scheduling. We talked about the resource management, but everybody wants some kind of reporting and dashboards out of these tools. What I can do is I can actually go over to Power BI, and I've got a set of pre-built dashboards and reports here. They're going to give us visibility across that product and project lifecycle. At the top level, we have what's called our product dashboard. You'll see I'll click on that. Then we have a series of sub-reports here. The first of those shows us by product family, all the projects and how they're performing all in one place. It's going to show me on the top right, what are the financials? What is my forecasted cost, my baseline cost, where we started from, and what's the actual spend on each of the product lines? Down here, it's also going to show us some of our production milestones. So we can see for prototype complete, production on each project, what are some of the upcoming key milestones and key dates? When are they hitting? And am I on schedule or not? It really gives me as a management team member the ability to drill down and say, well, let's focus on our laptop or mobile devices. Now I can see I've got 5 projects that are a part of that. And I can see the one project that is in the yellow, we've already identified it's in yellow because of the resource challenges or the constraints associated with it. And then I can click on that. I also have the ability to look at a timeline. So I can see for a specific product, here's all the projects and the timelines behind them coming from each unique schedule. I can look at the product financials. So now I can see for a particular portfolio, the plan, the baseline, the actual, the projects and what the spend is, but also over here, the cumulative spend and the month over month burn on that. And if I just wanted to focus in on one project versus 2 or 3, I can highlight these and iteratively build out my portfolio views here so I can see what my spend is, my monthly spend and burn, what my forecast and actuals are. Additionally, because we are capturing a forecast on some of our product sales, we can report on that as well. Maybe we not only want to know what we're spending, but what are we going to make off these products? And again, we can look here at our tablets. I can focus on one product we have. Now I can see for tablets, for each of these products, what our projected sales, our net sales, and it's going to be cumulative here. So we can see what the total sales and net sales are going to be. Then we can go and compare that to the net costs and the total costs, determine how profitable we're going to be on these specific products. Finally, as we're capturing the risks and issues on those projects, that's all going to boil up here to a portfolio. So we can start looking at all the risks that are kind of category 3, our highest visibility risks. And we can see on that modernized UI project, the customer panel is unavailable. We can see that right from here. That's a really big risk. It has a really big cost, a huge impact, a high probability of happening. And we can see if it's actually being managed and what the mitigation is. It looks like my product manager is working with the vendor to identify a replacement by the middle of February, which is great. It looks like that big risk may be mitigated. Keep me up to date on that and then be subscribed to that as well. I just want to know that these things are being managed. Same thing with our issues. Are there big issues or problems? Again, we're going to focus on those category 2 ones. And again, I get visibility across my products into exactly what the activities are. Finally, we have dependencies, and this is absolutely critical. We talked about the importance of one task on another as it relates to delivering a product and interrelated projects within it. This report actually shows us the dependencies. So specific to mobile devices, we can see what the initial project is, the task, how far along it is, start and finish dates, and the predecessor projects. So what comes before that? Before I can update the smaller model, I need to update the modernized UI, and I need to get that into first production. I see that's done, so I know over here that this can be in progress. Second one is done, but the third one, it looks like it's a big problem. Designed for a smaller model, it hasn't started yet, and I've got an in-market product over here that hasn't started yet either. So maybe I want to just focus laser-like on that specific one. Now I can see exactly where it is in its life cycle. I can hone this in by new products versus product redesign. I can look at it by specific product family and just take a look at laptops or mobile devices here to see if there are any critical dependencies between them. Or I can even look at it by manager and show me everything that Tim is working on versus Ed versus John or Tom. And finally, I have a timeline down at the bottom that shows me a visualization of the tasks and the progress between the different projects. So from a visualization and reporting perspective, Power BI gives us great visuals into this data. But what about the day-to-day project management? Well, we have project dashboards here, and this is going to give us a view into the status of one or multiple projects. In this case, we're at the modernized UI project, and we can see here what the project is about, when's the last time it changed, what was the baseline and the finish date. We got some of those trending indicators here, and we can see that production complete or the prototype complete is in the yellow. It hasn't been completed yet. How far along is it? Who's responsible for it? Think of this as your day-to-day status report that you no longer need to pull into a PowerPoint or Excel. It's all auto-generated by the system. We can look at things like task status. So as we get into our status meeting, we can sit with the engineering team and say, hey, here's all the tasks that are running late right now. How are we managing these? Who's responsible for them? How are they getting mitigated or managed versus the tasks that have been completed? We can take a look at the team for this particular project, and we can start seeing what is the flow of resource work. Does this map to what our expectations are in our project schedule? We can very quickly hone in on one of the resources, maybe the manufacturing engineer. We can see how many hours of manufacturing engineering do we need month over month versus a different role like the product engineer here, or we'll look at product engineer and manufacturing engineer together. And now we can see the actual work, the remaining work, the cost, what are we spending on these people? It's all in one place in one set of dashboards. Finally, down at a project level, we've identified all the risks. We can surface those here, run through these with the management team as well as our project team, make sure they're accurate, update them all in one place, the issues. And finally, we always want to know how we're burning down on the cost as well as the work. So we can see the project work over time on the top and the flow of that, and then how we're burning through the budget we have in different phases where we're going to be spending more. Maybe we're acquiring hardware or we're bringing in that customer panel at a certain point in time. These are all Power BI reports that you can use to analyze the data. You can even look at your resources and start looking at things like a resource overview or a heat map and say, okay, well, what are my resources working on? What's the demand for engineers that I have? And if I look at it, capacity is in orange again, just like the last chart. If I look at this month here, I want to drill into that. What's going on in this month? Looks like we're way overbooked. I can drill through that and I can see why. I can see I've got one or two resources here that are not overbooked, but everybody else is. Alex is overbooked, Molly's overbooked, Patrick is overbooked, Sean. And if I see over here, I've got Molly here, what is she overbooked on? Again, I can drill down. So as a resource manager, I can start to determine what projects or products are people working on? How are they spending their time? Can we use them on other projects more efficiently or effectively? So we really have the ability to get great visuals from a product level to a project level to a resource and a performance level. Finally, team members. These are the folks that are assigned different activities. Typically, again, they're waiting for the status meeting, they're sending emails. A team member can actually come in here to see something called See My Project Tasks. This area is going to aggregate all the activities that are assigned across all the different projects from different product managers in one place. And they're going to be able to visualize this in different ways. So for the current period, I'm working on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 projects. And then I've got different activities within each one that I'm responsible for. So you can imagine all the activities they need to keep up to date with. Now, through PPM, they can actually keep it all up to date in one place. They can come in and say, I worked on this task for 4 hours on Tuesday, 4 hours on Wednesday, did 2 hours, 1 hour on Tuesday or Wednesday, 5 hours here. They can actually add notes and send these back. And also say, good news, I'm finishing early, or bad news, I'm finishing late. So they can update the date, the percent complete, the hours they've worked. Then what they can do is they can shoot these back to each of the respective managers who can review the impact of that and approve that or reject it. Really powerful stuff because they can do it all in one place. You can view this in a calendar view if you really want to. Most people think in terms of calendars and then update their tasks right from here. And then once those updates are sent back, they sit in a queue. And a project manager or product manager is going to be able to go in, look at the approval here, and get all the updates in one place. So instead of, again, waiting for an email, waiting for a status meeting, get an IM over Teams, I'm going to be able to go into the electronic tool here, the PPM tool, look at all the updates coming in from my team members. I can see I've got a project update here. I can preview those updates. And before you know it, I immediately know the impact of those two changes on the rest of my project without even opening Microsoft Project. So now I can see these two activities, administration and the timekeeping. If you look at what they do, because those are running late, it's going to push my entire project out a good 5 days. I know this a week into my project that I'm going to have an impact on that. Now I can go and work with that resource to mitigate that. Say, how can we get this done on time? Or do I need to take some of the tasks I have down here about building the product team out? And do I need to consolidate that and shrink down the scope or time box that in some way? It's really a project forecasting tool that gives us the ability to do all of this analysis tied into our schedules, tied into our resources, tied into our work. And finally, that day-to-day communications, absolutely critical. What happens in PPM is we set up what's called a SharePoint collaborative team site where all of the project components are being managed. This is all in the underlying SharePoint that's built into the PPM environment where the team and the project manager and the product manager are all working together. You can see they come in and you have a visualization of the schedule. They can see what tasks are coming across the entire project and understand which ones are on time and late. They can log all the issues and risks here, be assigned them, triage them, and even be notified when things change. They're going to track and manage all the documentation related to the project, documents for commercial marketing, vendor-related contracts, partner training documents, change orders, product design documents. They're all centrally stored here, and this can all be templated. Importantly, they can also keep all of their notes here as well. So you think about all the content that gets captured during a project status meeting notes and minutes, action items, key decisions, that can all be logged here against the site, stored on the site. So if you ever need to do a transition to a new product manager, they just go to the site and they see all the history is right there. Everything is in one place, from the meeting notes, unstructured content, to all the data, all in one place. It makes it very easy because now you can search for things. If I want to look for requirements or design, I can do a search and it'll pull up every time I talked about design, had tasks related to design, had actually documentation related to design, all in one place. It has full integrated search built in. And this is, again, kind of the beauty of the Microsoft suite. It's all integrated. It's tools most people are already familiar with and use on a day-to-day basis. So you're leveraging existing skills, tools, and licensing you may already have in place today. Just to give you a feeling kind of where some of this has gone, we have a lot of organizations that manage their portfolio lifecycle around their products, and they can see kind of different phases of a product, whether it's run, transform, or grow, or enhance, or modify. They can see in a pipeline view all the different projects that are there and kind of filter that down. The approved count of projects, what's planning, execution, closeout. This can map to what your overall PLM lifecycle is, so you can start to measure the progress of your projects and the products that are coming from those. So this was really designed to give you a demonstration to what's possible. Obviously, your organization may manage products in a different way, and these tools are fairly flexible and can be set up as such. So as you're probably aware, AI, or artificial intelligence, is on everybody's mind. Microsoft has released its AI engine. It's called Copilot, if you aren't familiar with it, into the Microsoft Office 365 cloud. And Copilot is driven by what's called a semantic index, which allows for searching through meanings underlying data structures that are out there. So Copilot uses this semantic engine to get to the data you and your organization have, to access it, to do future state things like commanding. Hey, system, go do this, or build me that. It can update data. Hey, update a task, or update a deliverable, or update a milestone. Or it can get you information. Hey, generate a report that does X, Y, and Z. Or think about the ability to kind of pull up a Q&A window, asking common questions and synthesize that into something. Hey, senior management is asking for data about this. Where are we going with a certain product? Why this is important is that, in a future state, we see this capability mapping to some of the use cases we've talked about today around project and product management in a couple different ways. Imagine the ability to ask questions of the tools, such as, show me projects that are behind where we can't get our product to market by the deadline. And Copilot could go out and find that data and explain it to you in normal English. Or show me which key resources on my product team are overallocated, which is creating a bottleneck for all our projects. And Copilot can pull that data and then make recommendations, and maybe even say, well, here's a person that's actually not overallocated that has the same skills. While we're really in the infancy of all of this today, there's a tremendous opportunity to improve on business process, to streamline an understanding of your data, and to automate tasks that would typically take hours or days to get into no time at all. And that's really going to be the opportunity as we look into this. The foundation of this all begins with building a really good AI strategy, starting to align with data and sources that your organization deems really critical for this type of use or use cases, and then building on what Microsoft and the industry are calling responsible AI prior to any deployment of any of this technology. So just so you understand, our team at Projility is working very hard on developing the capabilities and competencies in this area. We're partnered very closely with Microsoft on some beta programs that they have around this technology. And we're certainly going to keep you posted on some of the progress as these emerge. But we did want to bring this up because this is top of mind for a lot of folks. So how do you get there? You're assessing and implementing a PPM solution to meet some of your product lifecycle management challenges. We thought we'd do is take a couple minutes to walk you through some good practices we've seen that successful organizations have in common. And it always begins with identifying, number one, what's the business problem you're looking to solve for? Do you have limited resources? Are resources a challenge? And you want to do better resource management around the projects that lead up to your products? Do you not have visibility into the timelines of all the products and the subcomponents of those products? Do you have a collaboration problem? Do you have a reporting challenge? What is the problem you're looking to solve? And often that drives the design of these systems. You also start talking about identifying the process or parts of your process that don't work right, that could really be improved by automation, that you could do better reporting around, and how could PPM help with those? You're not going to try to fix everything all at once. You're going to identify just two things, like the actual delivery of projects, or the staffing of projects, or the scheduling of projects, and then address that problem and grow from there. You also want to understand that this is fundamentally different from product lifecycle management, right? You're using different tools for the engineering of your product. You're using this at a management layer to manage the delivery and the planning and the execution of that product and the projects within it. So it's a little bit different than what we've talked about. You also want to try to leverage existing skills and tools you have in place today to ease the transition. Getting a bunch of people that are really busy, that are already overworked, into a set of tools that nobody's familiar with and nobody knows, just to get one or two pieces of information, can be very painful, and you'll often get a lot of pushback from that. So think about ways you can leverage some of the tools, like some of the ones we showed you today, to really help you get there. You also want to think about training everybody on your teams, no matter what the role is, and teach them, based on my job, here's how I'm going to use the tool to save time, to be more effective, and to give the organization the data it needs. Training is absolutely critical. Never overlook it, even if it's a couple of hours at a time, and constantly retraining people over time so they don't fall back into the old way of doing things. Also, think about reporting and planning. That's really important. Reporting and resource planning are constantly going to be requests to improve upon. This is going to be something where you're going to have to iterate on it over time. You're not going to solve the resource management challenge overnight. You're going to start with basic resource planning, start to drill that down maybe to phases and tasks and activities over time, cross-project dependency resource planning. Reporting is going to start again at a high level and start to drill down with more detail as your organization matures and as you get more experience. So really think about it more as a marathon versus a sprint, but you'll have different sprints that get you up to that marathon pace. And finally, always look to gain support from people who have done this stuff before, that have deployed these types of solutions for product development specific use cases. So hopefully this gave you a good feeling for really how to get started, what some of the solutions are, and how you can leverage a lot of the technology and tools that you may already have access to get there in the Microsoft suite. With that, I'm going to hand it back to Annie, who's going to go through some of our question and answer. Annie?
Great presentation, Rob. We'll now open the floor to questions and answers. Remember to enter your questions in the questions and answer manager at the top of your team screen. Let's see if there's any questions in the queue for Rob. Not seeing any just yet. Maybe we'll wait a couple moments. Well, if there are no more questions, we'll continue the presentation. If you or anyone in your organization is looking for help or guidance with the planning, deploying, or driving good use and adoption of Microsoft PPM solution, reach out. Projility provides services and solutions around the Microsoft PPM platform designed to help you drive better project, portfolio, and resource management across your teams and enterprise. Additionally, you can visit our new website, which has a series of blogs, as well as our YouTube channel that includes tons of great videos and topics related to the information we shared today. Reach out via email, info@projility.com, if you'd like to talk about your specific needs. Thank you for joining our webinar today. We appreciate your time and look forward to seeing you online for our next session with client speakers, Westinghouse and Ecobat. Have a great day.